Hello, and welcome to another video. Today we will be learning about the unit circle. It's called a unit circle because the radius of the circle is equal to 1 unit. So starting at the center, anywhere that you go to the edge will be equal to 1. There's some information that we already know about the unit circle. For example, we know that if you don't go anywhere, you move 0 degrees or 0 radians. We know that if you do a whole rotation, it will be 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. If you do half of a rotation, it will be pi radians or 180 degrees. If you go 1/4 of the way, you move 90 degrees or half of pi, also known as pi over 2. If you go 3/4 of the way, you move 270 degrees or 3 pi over 2. That's some basic information that we already know. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the spaces with the measurements from the special right triangles. So if you remember, we had the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Then we had the 45, 45, and 90 degree triangle. 90 is already listed in our unit circle, so we don't have to list that one. And as you can see, 45 is listed twice. We only need it once. So the measurements that we are going to be adding is going to be 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees. I put them in order because that's the order in which they will go in my unit circle. So 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and then 60 degrees. I'm going to use some information to fill in the rest of the circle, and I'm going to be color coding it just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to erase these two. And then I'm going to write them in red. So 30, 60, 90. I'm going to add 30 more to get to the next one. So that will give me 120. I'm going to add 30 more to get to the next one. That will give me 150. As you can see, I put them in red because I'm skipping the one in the middle. I will come back and do that in a little bit. I'm going to add 30 to it. That will give me 180, which is already listed. I'm going to add 30 more, which will give me 210. Plus 30 more, which will give me 240. Plus 30 more, 270, which is already listed. Plus 30 more, which will give me 300. Plus 30 more, which will give me 330. So I'm using the 30 to add to get to the next one. Again, I'm skipping the ones dealing with 45. I'm going to do those next. So I'm going to start with 45 degrees. I will put it in a different color. I'll put it in green, so that will be 45 degrees. Plus 45, which will give me 90. So I'm going to go from here to here. Plus 45 more, which will give me 135. Plus 45, which will give me 180. And then 180 plus 45, which will give me 225. Plus 45, which will give me 270. Plus 45, which will give me 315. So that's one way that you can get the angle measurements in degrees. I'm going to erase this information. Now I'm going to do it in radians. You can actually compute the measurements from degrees to radians using the proportions like we learned in class. So I know that 30 degrees is going to be pi over 6. I know that 45 degrees is going to be pi over 4. And then I know that 60 degrees is going to be pi over 3. Now I'm going to repeat what I did with the red points to get the radian measurement. So remember, we're adding 30 degrees, which is the same thing as adding pi over 6. So for the first one, it's just going to be pi over 6. So 1 pi over 6. plus another pi over 6 will give me 2 pi over 6, which simplifies to pi over 3. That's where this one came from. The next one will be 3 pi over 6, which simplifies to just pi over 2, which is here. The next one will be 4 pi over 6, which simplifies to 2 pi over 3. So that one will go here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The next one will be 5 pi over 6. And I can't simplify that one, so I'm just going to write it down. The next one will be 6 pi over 6, which simplifies to just pi. The next one will be 7 pi over 6. I can't simplify that one. The next one will be 8 pi over 6, which simplifies to 4 pi over 3, which will go here. The next one would be 9 pi over 6, which simplifies to 3 pi over 2, which is already there. The next one will be 10 pi over 6, which simplifies to 5 pi over 3. The next one will be 11 pi over 6, which doesn't simplify to anything. Okay, so now I'm almost done. I just need to add the ones that I put in green. So remember, for that one, we're adding 45 degrees, which is the same as adding pi over 4. So 1 pi over 4 here, 2 pi over 4 here, which is already there. The next one will be 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, and then 7 pi over 4 in the middle. Now that I have all those measurements, remember what we said about the radius being 1. So I know the distance from the center to this point is 1. So I can find the ordered pair that goes here. Remember, ordered pairs are x, y. So I move to the right 1 unit, and then I didn't go up and down. So the value for that specific point is 1, 0. To get the other ones, I'm going to zoom in and look at some of the information that I already know. I'm going to do it in a different color. I'll do it in green. So I know that this angle is 30 degrees. I know it goes up to that point. And then I come back down here, creating a right angle. Creating a right triangle. Like I said, I know that the distance from the center to the edge is 1 unit. So that's how I know that this is 1. I know I have a right triangle. I know that that angle is 30. I know that the angle at the top is 60 degrees. So I actually have a special right triangle, a 30, 60, 90. Remember your ratios that we learned last time about. So this one was 2x across from the right angle. Across from 30 you will have x, and then at the bottom we'll have x times square root of 3. So I know that 2x is equal to 1. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. I know x is equal to 1/2. So now I know that the opposite of the 30 degrees measures 1/2. And I know that the one on the bottom measures 1/2 times the square root of 3, which is square root of 3 over 2 once you multiply them out. So if you notice, the length of this side only goes from the center up to this point, which is here. So I know that this point is going to be equal to square root of 3 over 2. And then I know that the height of the triangle is going to be the y value of this point, which will be 1/2. Again, you can see your 30, 60, 90 here. 30, 60, 90 triangle. We knew that this was equal to 1. because it's in the unit circle. This is a radius. Then we use the special right triangle ratios to figure out the two sides. Now we know the 2 points the order pair that goes with this triangle. If you remember your ratios for trig, we know that sine of theta is equal to your opposite over your hypotenuse, and then your cosine of theta is equal to your adjacent over hypotenuse. So looking at this specific triangle in the green, we know that this is your reference angle, which is 30. So to find the sine of 30, you will do opposite divided by hypotenuse. So we know that the sine of 30 will be equal to 1/2 divided by 1, which is just 1/2. For the cosine of 30, when it will be adjacent over hypotenuse, which will be square root of 3 over 2. So now I'm going to make a note that I can use the unit circle to figure out sine and cosine based on the order pairs that are given to me right here. So I am going to make a note that my cosine will come from my x value and my sine will come from my y value. So you can repeat the steps for all of them. I'm going to erase the triangle and their measurements. Then I'm going to repeat it with the 45, 45, 90. Let me do it with the purple. So again, I'm going to start with the origin. I'm going to go up. I'm going to come back down. And I'm going to go horizontally, creating my special right triangle with a measurement of 45, 45, 90. I know that my hypotenuse is equal to 1 because again it's one of the radius of my circle. Remember your ratios for that special triangle are going to be x, x, and x times the square root of 2. So now I know that 1 is equal to x times the square root of 2. I'm going to divide by the square root of 2 on both sides, and I'm going to get x equals 1 over the square root of 2. I'm going to rationalize. Again, we don't like square roots in the denominator, so that will be square root of 2 over 2. And both of these sides will be square root of 2 over 2, and square root of 2 over 2, which will be my points on my unit circle. For the last one, we already have them. We just know it's going to be flipped because the 30 and the 60 will be flipped. So I know that this one would be 1/2, comma, square root of 3 over 2. The top one's pretty easy. I know that this length is 1, so it will be 0, comma 1. The one on the left will be -1, comma 0, because I'm going in the negative direction. And then I'm going to use the quadrant 1 to figure out what the actual points on the unit circle are on the other quadrants. So I'm going to erase this triangle just so we don't get confused. So if we look at this triangle right here, and we look at this triangle on the opposite side, we notice that they're both 30, 60, 90, and also notice that the hypotenuse is 1 for both of them. So we know that this point is going to be similar to the point on this side. The only thing different is going to be the signs. So since this one is in quadrant 2, I know my x is going to be negative and my y is going to be positive. So this is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, comma positive 1/2. I'm going to repeat the same process for this one. Like I said, this is going to be 45, 45, this is going to be 1, 1. So I know that these two are going to be similar, except for that x is going to be negative. So it's going to be negative square root of 2 over 2, comma, positive square root of 2 over 2. Same thing for this one. At the top, I know it's going to be negative 1/2, comma, square root of 3 over 2. If we remember our shortcut, all students take calculus. Kind of helps you figure out that this part's still true, and now we actually have the sign that goes with it. So on quadrant 1, we're saying all of them are positive, sine, cosine, and tangent. Quadrant 2, we're saying sine is positive, as you can see here, and the other two are negative, which you can see cosine being negative on them. So complete the circle using that information. Thank you for watching.